Late at night, a staggering black shadow suddenly broke into an abandoned construction site in Queens, New York. Excessive blood loss made Li Hao's vision blurry. He tried hard to identify the direction and barely hid behind a piece of construction waste. Huff! Huff! Li Hao pulled his chest hard to let more air into his lungs. Every breath would affect the knife wound on his back, sending a burning pain. Damn it, I can't run anymore. Li Hao bit his cracked lips tightly, still unable to believe what happened tonight. Just 4 hours ago, he was a guest of honor of the Queen's Green Den. Enjoying delicious food and exotic beauties, Li Hao felt very satisfied with his life. But the next moment, his partner, Reese, a Chinese-European mixed race who had defrauded a lot of money with him, appeared. She did not bring money and a hot body, but a cold expression and a sudden attack of Green Gang thugs. Li Hao and Rui Si knew each other since college. At first, they were just friends and lovers. As they got to know each other better, Rui Si gradually showed her excellent communication skills and became a celebrity in college. Breaking up was just normal. They had a good time and then went their separate ways. Graduating from college meant unemployment. The grandfather who had been supporting Li Hao passed away, and his grandmother suffered from a serious eye disease. The burden of the whole family fell on Li Hao. Li Hao's father died when he was just born, and his mother left him to his grandparents. She even made a phone call when her grandfather passed away. He had to rely on himself for everything. Less than 2 years after graduation, the pressure of life turned Li Hao from an innocent student in an ivory tower into a social person with the character of a small trader. When he was at his lowest point, the glamorous Reese appeared. After the two had an in-depth conversation on the bed, Li Hao fell in love with her. Then a 3-person team was formed. The Chinese-American Mira, who was collecting intelligence, had an ordinary appearance and a pair of heavy black-framed glasses on her round head. She was a tech geek and a rotten girl, and was very interested in anime and gay love. Reese, tall and plump, with 3-dimensional facial features and tight wheat-colored skin, could easily make people fall under her spell. Li Hao, of medium build and good-looking, was responsible for contacting wealthy Chinese bosses and also for the follow-up work. Intelligence Mira, Rui Si, and Li Hao were responsible for the incision. The 3 of them were involved in a technical trap. Li Hao found the big bosses and businessmen, Mira collected intelligence, and then created opportunities for Rui Si to meet the other party. Rich people like to store cash and gold. The 3 used this to get the exact location of the safe through Reese, and sometimes even the password. After several successes, the team joined the team. In addition to Li Hao and the other 2, a black man named House joined. House was tall and strong. It was rumored that he had fought in underground black boxing several times. He was the security consultant of the team. It was an accident that Li Hao met the deputy leader of the Green Gang. He originally disagreed with provoking the gang, but Reese and House thought it was a good opportunity. After they had stirred up trouble in Queens, they were ready to leave. How could they justify themselves if they didn't make a lot of money? After that, the operation went smoothly. Li Hao pretended to be Reese's distant cousin and easily approached the deputy leader named Qin Lan. When they started, there was nothing in the safe, only a black triangular stone. In line with the principle of do not leave empty-handed, Li Hao took the triangular stone away. The matter should have ended here, and the team left Queens in batches and then met at a secret location. But for some reason, Reese betrayed the team and took the Green Gang members directly to the secret meeting point. Fortunately, the team was prepared to be discovered when doing this kind of money swindling thing. After a scuffle, Li Hao barely escaped. As for Mira and House, they could only leave it to fate. What went wrong? Why did Reese betray me? Li Hao hid in the construction waste, and this question kept lingering in his mind. After thinking about the whole process, Li Hao's eyes moved slightly, and he reached out and touched a black triangular stone. Is it because of this thing? After checking it over and over again, it was just a strange stone at most. Ha! There are words. When Li Hao accidentally turned the triangular stone to face the moon, strange tadpole-like characters appeared on it. When his eyes touched these characters, he felt an indescribable burning sensation in his eyeballs. The burning sensation became stronger and stronger, and it still existed even when Li Hao closed his eyes. Damn, what the hell is this? Li Hao wanted to throw away the strange stone, but found that his hand was empty. In doubt, a cold electronic synthesized sound suddenly appeared in his mind. Ding! Marvel Copy System Integration in progress, 1837-17 Ding. Marvel Copy System integration completed. Automatically search the surrounding environment and generate novice tasks. Ding! Search completed, novice tasks. Familiarize yourself with system operations. Everything happened too suddenly, and Li Hao's mind was as confused as paste. He took a few deep breaths, and the burning wound on his back made Li Hao quickly regain his composure. There was so much information pouring into his mind that Li Hao didn't have time to read it carefully. He could only quickly follow the prompts to familiarize himself with the system operation. The operation was controlled by brainwaves. Entering the system interface, clicking on various options, only a small part of the entire system was open, and most of the rest was gray and unavailable. Mission, attributes, activate Marvel copy. Clicking on the attribute bar, Li Hao's digitized physical attribute values appeared in front of him. Strength, 0.8 agility, 0.9 constitution, 1 spirit, 0.8 lack of exercise and long-term mentally exhausting work have made Li Hao's physical fitness slightly poor. Closing the attribute bar, Li Hao continued to click to activate the Marvel copy. Ding! The copy activation requires 10 points of orange energy. Black Knight, there is only one Lonely Knight helmet pattern in the entire copy. After a lot of trouble, all the options were operated and the task was completed. Ding! The novice task is completed, and the reward is an energy detection ring. A black iron ring appeared on Li Hao's finger, and the method of using it appeared in his mind at the same time. Energy detection ring can detect energy reactions within a 10-meter radius. Li Hao activated the ring's detection function, and a three-dimensional phantom immediately appeared in front of him. Using red, orange, yellow, green, etc. to distinguish energy intensity, Li Hao himself was a deep red, while the surrounding ground was a very dim light red. Only by absorbing energy above orange can the copy be activated. Li Hao looked away and found that there was only one place with a faint orange energy reaction. An abandoned old machine room, with 4 pieces of light orange energy reaction on the ground. Li Hao endured the discomfort and walked into the machine room quickly. As soon as he entered the machine room, the system sent another prompt. Ding! Triggered the task generation, successfully entered the first copy. Li Hao paused after hearing the prompt and continued to walk into the machine room. This is... Looking at the 4 worn-out battery packs on the ground, Li Hao was slightly stunned. Ding! Found orange energy that can be absorbed. Do you want to absorb it? Absorb it immediately. The shouts and curses of the Qin gang members could be heard faintly outside, and Li Hao shouted immediately without hesitation. Ding! Energy absorption in progress, 1.3.8 ding. Energy absorption completed, 16 orange energy points obtained. Without time to think, Li Hao immediately clicked to activate the dungeon. Ding! The dungeon is activated. Do you want to enter the dungeon? Enter the dungeon. As soon as the words fell, Li Hao's eyes went dark and he disappeared on the spot. The dizziness lasted only a few seconds, and then Li Hao heard the system voice. Ding! Do you want to check the general plot? Consume 3 energy points. Li Hao chose to check. After all, he knew nothing about Black Knight. The 3 energy points disappeared, and the main plot and background information of Black Knight quickly emerged in Li Hao's mind. In the war era, the main line is to train the Black Knight. Various conflicts of interest and grievances continue to unfold as the male and female protagonists confront each other. Generally speaking, it is a bitter drama. Ellie, who has a mysterious inheritance, does not hesitate to dabble in the dark field for her lover Deiko, and creates the brutal and bloody profession of the Black Knight. When Deiko learned the truth, he had already been trained by the Black Knight. Without completing the training, Deiko and his lover turned against each other, and the plot unfolded. Then, Ellie became the villain and hunted Deiko down. The half-finished Deiko showed his power and killed a large number of pursuers as if assisted by God. He also created the Black Knight training system that has been passed down to later generations. This marvel is a semi-finished product, and has not been made into an animation or a movie. Just after reading the general plot, a series of system prompts sounded. Ding! First time entering a dungeon, mission completed, rewarded with a charm patch. Charm patch, increase your charm by 200 in 30 minutes. There was an extra thing in his hand that looked like a bandit. Li Hao looked at it and put it in his pocket. Ding! Main quest generated. Gain more than 60 points of trust from Ellie. Ding! Side quest. Kill 10 Black Knight followers. The main and side quests appeared. Li Hao thought about the task flow, and then looked around. The ground was piled with thick dead branches and leaves, and a few rays of sunlight dangled between the lush branches. Even in the daytime, this black forest still gives people a gloomy and dangerous feeling. Li Hao lay on the tree trunk, without any disguise, just acting in his true colors. He was injured, so it was easy to associate him with the travelers in distress. Li Hao's expression was calm, but he was extremely anxious. 10 points of orange energy can allow him to stay in Black Knight for 24 hours. He didn't think about the side quests. As long as he could complete the main quest, Li Hao would be thankful. This is the testing ground where Ailey studies the Black Knight. How could she possibly encounter humans? Ailey's men didn't wait for her, but a group of luxuriously dressed, fat-bellied human officials came instead. With power and money, people cherished their lives. Although the Black Knight's modulation has many side effects, it can increase lifespan and combat power. These government officials learned about Ailey's existence through channels, and immediately made an appointment to come together. Ha! There seems to be someone over there. The middle-aged fat man wearing a felt hat and a long robe looked at Li Hao in surprise. Are you a traveler? Don't worry about these lowly people. We have business to deal with. Yes, it's not easy to find this place. I heard that Master Ai Li doesn't like outsiders. Several fat men looked at Li Hao with contempt and passed him by like a weed on the roadside. SHHH. With a sound so faint that it was ignored, the head of an official walking in the front suddenly slipped off, and his headless body took several steps before falling to the ground with a plop and dying. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, and they chuckled a few times before letting out a sharp and piercing cry. Someone's dead. Someone's dead. I don't want to debug anymore. I want to live here. Li Hao looked at him coldly. He also wanted to run, but his body was almost half crippled. A black shadow jumped out of the bushes, and two thick long arms swung at several people like whips. Several officials fell unconscious one after another. Hee hee, Jack, you are always so boring. A sinister voice sounded from the bushes where the long-armed man appeared. A middle-aged man with a white face and no beard flashed out and rushed straight to a fallen official. Jack took a step forward expressionlessly, twisted his hands and threw them out. Bam! The gloomy man stretched out his hand to block it, and a faint red light exploded at the intersection of their arms. Materials, don't move. Jack's voice was stiff and rigid, and his eyes were fixed on the gloomy man. The gloomy man twitched his mouth in disdain, and his eyes could not help but fall on Li Hao. What's wrong with you, kid? Don't you know that this is a forbidden area? I want to see Master Ai Li. I want to become stronger. Li Hao struggled to stand up, pus flowing down the pipe from his left leg. This image, coupled with the declaration of becoming stronger, really made the two people's expression stagnate slightly. Ai Li's early experimental subjects were basically some poor farmers and beggars, who had no clothes to cover their bodies and no food to fill their stomachs. After being modulated by Ai Li, they possessed inhuman force. The sudden power made them full of malice towards the nobles and gentry, who had been riding on their heads before. Therefore, the subsequent modulated bodies are basically poor people, and these fat officials will be used as cheap experimental subjects. The two exchanged glances, nodded silently, and then left with Li Hao, who wanted to become stronger. The grey bark was withered and cracked as if it had been drained of water, and the dark brown weeds grew tenaciously, but there was a sense of death and weary. Life here is like being superfluous. Since entering this death zone, Li Hao's entire body has been covered in a layer of grey. The closer he got to Ailey's residence, the stronger the smell of death became. The ground gradually turned scarlet, as if it had been watered with blood. The soil was soft and greasy when stepped on, and it was disgusting. Hee hee, it's better to go home. The gloomy man blinked his round eyes, smiled sinisterly, and spread his arms, looking very enjoyable. I like it here. Jack agreed woodenly, tightening his grip on Li Hao. Li Hao was breathing in more than out at this time, and only his pale lips slightly opened and closed, proving that he was still alive. Corroded by the grey death energy, Li Hao soon fainted. When he woke up, he found himself lying on a cold black stone bed like a lamb to be slaughtered. Why do you want to become stronger? For wealth or power? A middle-aged woman with grey hair and skin tightly attached to bones murmured. Her eyes were no longer on Li Hao, but were looking into the distance. For my lover, I want to become stronger. Li Hao's hoarse voice woke Ai Li up. Her lifeless eyes slid and her eyes slowly fell on Li Hao. For your lover. Ding. Ai Li's favorability increased by 9 points. Li Hao was delighted, thinking that there was indeed a way. He had limited time, and it was impossible to gain the favor of the old witch in front of him by conventional means, so he could only take an unconventional approach. After quietly sticking on the charm patch, Ai Li's eyes towards Li Hao softened a little. But this was not enough. Li Hao once again turned into the protagonist of a sad drama. His eyes were distracted, and his voice was desolate. She is a witch, killing people everywhere, but I still love her. Ai Li narrowed her eyes slightly and tilted her head slightly as if something had touched her. Ding. Ai Li's favorability increased by 26 points. I abandoned my family for her and even killed my own brother. Ding. Ai Li's favorability increased by 19 points. Listening to the system prompt, Li Hao was about to make further efforts, but he found that a purple light suddenly rose in Ai Li's eyes. Rip! The charm patch in Li Hao's palm suddenly exploded, and then a cold and hard touch came from his neck. Clamping Li Hao's neck, Ai Li's eyes were full of murderous intent. Who are you? You can actually use the charm technique. A warlock. Although Ai Li was extremely thin, A pale palm that clamped Li Hao was as strong as an iron clamp. Ding! AI Li's favorability decreased by 20 points. It's a big deal. AI Li is not an ordinary human. I didn't expect the charm patch to be discovered so quickly. The feeling of suffocation became stronger and stronger, but AI Li suddenly let go. Cough! Cough! Li Hao breathed hard, and his purple face slowly calmed down. I'm just an ordinary human. I used charm just to make the modulation earlier. AI Li looked at Li Hao and said coldly, tell me your lover's name and address, right now. Li Hao quickly shared the information he had prepared. AI Li waved her hands, and a purple water wave appeared out of thin air. The water wave rounded into a mirror, and slowly became clear. In the picture, a girl of 17 or 18 was performing a dark ritual, and she looked around in confusion as if she had sensed something. She was a villain who helped AI Li in the later part of the plot. Her address and name were mentioned in the plot synopsis, and Li Hao used them to fill in the gaps. Ding! AI Li's favorability increased by 13 points. It was like a roller coaster. Although he fooled AI Li, Li Hao was so scared that his stomach cramped and he was sweating all over. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! The piercing alarm interrupted the silence of the two. AI Li's eyes froze and she walked out of the laboratory quickly. Li Hao barely got up and struggled to walk to the door. As soon as he moved to the door, he heard Ollie yelling outside, damn it, it's you again. Before Ollie finished speaking, the enemy's attack arrived. With a loud bang, the door exploded. The door couldn't withstand the force and exploded with a bang. Li Hao, who was standing behind the door, was directly blown away by the airflow. Li Hao was already extremely weak, and after the collision, he fainted again. A few hours later, Li Hao woke up and saw rows of wounded soldiers. This was a spacious and ventilated room where many injured knights were placed. After AI Li developed the Black Knight modulation, she was feared and wooed by many major forces. Among them, the three sisters of Haigu, who were closest to the test site, had the greatest conflict with AI Li. The Three Sisters is a homosexual group of free men. They are against violence and seize every opportunity to make themselves stronger. The Knights of the Steel Lance are their biggest support, and the attackers this time are the Knights of the Steel Lance. Immediately settle the wounded and send more Black Knights over. No retreat. Those who disobey orders will be killed. Master Ali is coming. Master Ali is coming. Noisy shouts and screams could be heard faintly through the crack in the door, and seriously injured people were thrown into the room violently. Li Hao looked at the nearly unconscious followers, his eyes flickering slightly. Side quest: kill 10 Knight followers. Under normal circumstances, with Li Hao's physical condition, it is impossible to kill the fierce Knight Squire. Although they are squires, they are definitely tough soldiers after long-term training. But this attack gave Li Hao a great opportunity. After pondering for a while, Li Hao gritted his teeth and took out a dagger from an unconscious squire. The fingertips pressed down slightly, and the sharp blade cut the throat like a water bat. The palm of his hand could feel the squire's twitching and slight struggle. Li Hao suppressed the nausea and guilt and killed the first squire. After the first time, it was much faster. Ding! Complete the side quest and get a Black Knight training scroll as a reward. Black Knight training scroll. 1 month of Black Knight intensive training, increasing strength by 0.7 and physical fitness by 0.5. Good stuff, but it's a pity I can't use it now. After putting away the training scroll, Li Hao quickly wiped the blood on his face to cover it up, and walked towards the alley laboratory while the chaos was going on. A few hours later, the attack ended with the defeat of the Steel Lancers. Tired, Ellie walked to the door of the laboratory and saw a young man with festering wounds leaning against the wall waiting for her. Master Ellie, please let me join the modulation. I want to protect Lilith. Maybe it was because the casualties in the battle needed to be replenished, or maybe Li Hao's words protect Lilith worked. In short, Ellie's eyes flashed with complexity, and she waved to Li Hao to follow her. Mixture is very dangerous. Do you know why there are so few Black Knights? Because most of the people who received the modulation died in this pool. Ellie bent her palm inward, scooped up a pool of clear lavender liquid, and whispered absent-mindedly. Li Hao knew of course, and he also knew that this liquid was actually Ellie's diluted blood. The chance of successful modulation depends entirely on luck, so Li Hao stepped into the pool without hesitation. There are dozens of mutant black moles waiting for him outside the game. The remaining favorability points of the main mission must be successfully modulated before they can be obtained. Li Hao has to take risks. Ding! Entering the artificial Black Knight modulation state, do you want to add energy points? Adding energy points can increase the chance of success. Add. The last 3 points of energy disappeared, and Li Hao felt that the pool seemed to fluctuate slightly, and the water temperature also increased a little. When the pool was above his head, Li Hao felt numb all over and entered a magical state. After 4 hours, the lavender liquid turned transparent. Li Hao's tightly closed eyes slowly opened. Luckily, the modulation was successful. Ding! The low-level artificial Black Knight was successfully modulated, increasing strength by 0.4, physique by 0.3, agility by 0.1, and body coordination and flexibility by a certain degree. Tender flesh grew on the wound, and the skinny body bulged a little. Li Hao moved his limbs with satisfaction and turned to look at AI Li. Thank you, Master Ali. Li Hao thanked her sincerely. Are you going to find Lilith? She is an evil woman. Ali lowered her eyelids and her voice became very low. Li Hao's eyes were firm and he was righteous. Master, my love for Lilith will not change because of her behavior. Even if she wants to be an enemy of the whole world, I will stand with her. The sonorous and powerful declaration of love, in this era of information blockade and lack of education, exploded in AI Li's chest like a heavy bomb. As if she couldn't bear it, AI Li's numb eyes flashed with a look of spirit. Are you really willing to give everything for her? AI Li's voice was a little trembling, because Li Hao touched the softest part of her heart. She gave everything for Deiko, but was stabbed in the back by her lover. Regardless of who was right or wrong, the grief alone was enough to turn Ali into a murderer. Li Hao's eyes narrowed slightly, and he looked at Ali affectionately, just like looking at his lover. For her, I am willing to give everything, even my life. I have to admit that watching the sad dramas all day is still useful. At least this kind of loveless woman is very susceptible to this. Ding! AI Li's favorability increased by 26 points. Ding! The main quest is completed, and you get a copy of the minion manual and a temporary summoning stone. Minion manual. You can use summoning stones or energy points to summon Marvel minions. The levels of minions are from low to high, and the same amount of energy points or summoning stones are consumed according to their strength. Strength, 1.2 agility, 1 constitution, 1.3 spirit, 0.8 foot. The attribute value increased a lot, which was an unexpected gain. The biggest gain of this Black Knight was the minion manual. Don't underestimate the minions in the Marvel dungeon. They are minions in Marvel, but they are powerful mutants and superpowers in reality. The moment the main task was completed, the whole world froze. Li Hao looked at Ali deeply and clicked to exit the dungeon. In the dusty machine room, a shadow gradually emerged. He had an energy detection ring on his finger, and was holding a minion manual made of unknown materials. In his pocket was a Black Knight training volume full of ancient European style. These were Li Hao's gains from the dungeon. Touching the smooth cover of the minion manual, Li Hao felt an indescribable sense of security. Wolf! Wolf! That's right, the blood is here. Surround the computer room. Don't let that guy go. Everyone, be alert. Master Qin has ordered that we catch him alive. The computer room was surrounded by layers of Qin gang members, as if they were trying to catch a turtle in a jar. Li Hao smiled coldly and was about to take action when he heard a system notification sound. Ding! Trigger the mission to destroy the Qin gang's pursuers. Just right, I didn't intend to let these people go. After being chased for 10 streets and just going through a murder instance, Li Hao's face was full of murderous intent. He flipped his palm and a temporary summoning stone appeared in his hand. He squeezed it lightly and the summoning stone shattered. Ding! Use the temporary summoning stone to summon 2 psychic minions, which will exist for 10 minutes. The space fluctuated slightly, and 2 psychics of different shapes appeared in front of Li Hao. The first one was really tall and strong, with brick-like muscles all over his body, almost growing into his buttocks. He was shirtless, wearing stretch shorts, which was not appropriate for a man. The other one was dressed in black, with a dark gaze that seemed to absorb light, and his flexible limbs were full of the beauty of killing. The 2 daggers in his hands shook, and he nodded silently to Li Hao, and his figure blurred and disappeared without a trace. The combination of a meat shield and an invisible killer is definitely enough to give those Green Gang members a hard time. Bam! 2 burly Green Gang red sticks broke in, their steel sticks glowing coldly, and they squinted their eyes and smashed Li Hao's limbs. The dim light in the machine room made them ignore the danger in the dark. A big hand swept across the darkness, and 2 steel sticks flew away immediately. Looking for death! The voice was deep and deep, and a black shadow as big as a hill suddenly rushed out from beside Li Hao. Ho! A fist like a pile driver hit a red stick in the chest. Crack! The sternum was like plastic, and it caved in immediately. The scream of the other person was still in his throat, and another sharp light flashed in the darkness. The person covered his neck and fell to the ground, twitching and dying. Ha ha! 2 sheep! The big guy laughed wildly and smashed the door of the computer room, and pounced on the stunned Green Gang members like a hungry tiger. Behind him followed a silent black shadow, and as the 2 daggers danced, red marks took away lives. Li Hao stood at the door and watched quietly, silently feeling the power of the dungeon system. These 2 were just the lowest level minions. If they were Marvel heroes, what would it be like? Thinking of this, Li Hao's eyes flashed with desire. If he had these superpowers, where in the world could he not go? 10 minutes later, the two figures stopped peeling with reluctance and slowly disappeared into the air. Li Hao did not dare to delay and quickly looted the money from these Qing gang members, finding a total of more than $3,000. Li Hao didn't dare to use the bank card, as it would be easy for the Qing gang to find his tracks. Ding! The pursuit mission is completed, and the reward is a hidden mask. Hidden mask can change the appearance and body shape, and each use consumes 10 points of orange energy. A thin, paper-like, and looming magical mask gradually emerged. Li Hao stretched out his hand and grabbed the transparent mask. It felt as smooth as the finest silk. After looking at the mask's attributes, Li Hao smiled and walked towards Brooklyn. 2 months later, downstairs of an apartment building in Brooklyn, a black man of medium build was talking to someone. Brooklyn has a large population, with a mixture of Hispanics and Asians. The locals are quite hostile to the Asians coming from outside, believing that they are stealing their job opportunities. Hey, Brother Hulk, I found you some good stuff this time. A short black guy with a pointed face and monkey cheeks was talking about his products. Li Hao, who was disguised as a black man, glanced at him and said calmly, Cass, you'd better not look for some homeless people, or I'll break your little neck. Li Hao's voice was very calm, but it frightened Cass so much that he shrank back. Cass could swear that the man he hired was not a homeless person, but a well-trained bodybuilding coach. But it was this ordinary-looking black boy who beat the other man up. Hey, brother, I dare not lie to you, Cass. Okay, this is your commission. I'll contact you later if I need anything. Li Hao interrupted the other party without hesitation and stuffed $50 into his mouth. Cass grinned, spat out the dollars, and didn't care about the salty taste of the dollars in his mouth. He flicked the bills and laughed happily. After that, Li Hao found an abandoned warehouse according to the address Cass said, confirmed his identity, and saw the good stuff introduced by Cass this time. This was a burly, tough white man. His hard facial features showed a soldier's unique discipline. His upright posture was impressive, and his well-developed muscles were the favorite of those women. The moment he saw him, Li Hao knew that his mission was accomplished. Half an hour later, Li Hao left with bruises all over his body, and the retired Special Forces soldier received a reward of $500. Ding! Weekly mission completed. Compete with 5 or more combat experts and receive a hair care treatment as a reward. His ordinary hair gradually became smooth and refreshing, but Li Hao frowned slightly. Bad luck. After escaping from Queens, Li Hao used a concealment mask to temporarily transform himself into a black man. After all, Asian faces are too conspicuous and can easily be traced. The dungeon system was completely integrated and automatically upgraded. The original trigger tasks became weekly and monthly tasks. In 2 months, Li Hao completed several weekly tasks and 2 monthly tasks, but the rewards were not satisfactory. There were no rewards such as increased bone density, faster reading speed, and hair quality maintenance. The best reward was just an increase of 0.1 points of spiritual attributes. If Li Hao wants to improve his strength, he still has to enter the dungeon. Weekly and monthly tasks in the real world are more like a kind of tonic. It is basically impossible to become stronger by relying on them. However, Li Hao did not waste these 2 months. After settling in Brooklyn, Li Hao immediately trained his physical fitness, and he could be seen in various fighting classes. With no distractions and his digitized physical attributes, Li Hao was able to intuitively master his newly added attributes. Strength, 1.4 agility, 1.1 constitution, 1.5 spirit, 0.9. As he continued to accumulate experience, Li Hao gradually changed from being beaten to beating others, and could easily deal with ordinary people below 3. It was not because Li Hao had a good talent, but because the attribute values he obtained in the dungeon played the biggest role. Normal human attribute values fluctuate around 1 point, while special forces and professional athletes are around 1.3 to 1.5. Li Hao now has 2 attribute values close to special forces attributes. How can he not be strong? 2 months have allowed Li Hao to become thoroughly familiar with the new attributes, and he is ready to enter the dungeon again. According to Li Hao's original idea, he would enter the dungeon after settling down in Brooklyn, but when he was looking for energy, Li Hao was dumbfounded. I thought it was easy to get energy. Isn't it just a battery pack? They are everywhere on the street. But when Li Hao entered the building materials supermarket with the energy detection ring, there was no orange energy reaction in the entire supermarket. Li Hao was extremely disappointed and his mood fell to the bottom, but he found a glimmer of hope in a cardboard box for recycling old batteries. There were a lot of old batteries piled up in the simple cardboard box, but in Li Hao's eyes, there was a little bit of orange energy reaction. After searching for a while, he found the old battery emitting orange reaction at the bottom of the cardboard box. After absorbing it, he gained 0.7 points of orange energy. Old battery pack, old battery. Li Hao quickly connected the 2 times of gaining orange energy. Is orange energy only found in second-hand goods? With this question in mind, Li Hao immediately started searching in the second-hand goods market in Brooklyn. In 2 months, Li Hao only found 48 points of orange energy. After gritting his teeth and using 10 points of orange energy to change his appearance, Li Hao only had 38 points of energy left. In reality, his strength improved too slowly, so Li Hao decided to enter a dungeon first. Click to enter the dungeon, and 2 icons suddenly appeared. Black Knight and Mermaid in the basement. Ha! One more. Marvel also has Mermaid in the basement. Li Hao muttered as he clicked on the introduction of Mermaid in the basement. Mermaid, a beautiful creature in legend. But in Mermaid in the basement, it has become a terrifying amphibious monster. Like Black Knight, it was a semi-finished game, with only drafts and no comics. 38 energy points were enough for Li Hao to stay in Black Knight for 3 or 4 days. But it would take at least a month to use the Black Knight training scroll. 3 or 4 days was the best way to complete the main quest and increase Ailey's favorability. Since the reward is unknown, Li Hao is going to the Mermaid in the basement to see if he can get new gains. He spent 3 energy points and quickly went through the plot introduction. It's a very ordinary plot. The protagonist George is a fishing enthusiast. While fishing in the early morning, he accidentally discovered the mermaid Sheila. Sheila's tail fin was cut by a fishing boat in the lake, and she is full of vigilance and hostility towards humans. George kindly treated Sheila, and the early mutant fell in love with George. Seeing George and his family having fun, he immediately had evil thoughts and killed George's wife and children just to occupy George. Then George naturally took revenge and killed Sheila. The story should have ended here. But before she died, Sheila stole the semen from George and his wife, fertilized herself, and gave birth to a large group of mermaid monsters. Half a year later, this group of mermaid monsters attacked the town, causing endless killings. Seeing this, Li Hao nodded. These mermaids in the basement should be Marvel's early description of mutants. In Marvel, accepting mutants and coexisting peacefully with mutants is the theme of most comics. After pondering for a while, Li Hao decided to go to mermaids in the basement to have a look. Compared with Black Knight, which could not see results in the short term, there might be some surprises here. Click to enter, and Li Hao immediately disappeared. Ding! Main mission released, prevent mermaid eggs from hatching. Ding! Side mission released, protect George's family. Ding! Optional mission, explore the secret of mermaid mutation. The first 2 missions were fine, but the 3rd mission made Li Hao's eyes light up. There's a way. In the glittering morning light, a log boat paddled on the water, approaching. After a while, the boat came to the shore. A tall middle-aged man skillfully tied the rope to secure his beloved boat. Only when he stood up did he reveal a tough Western face. The 3-dimensional facial features of a mature man gave people a sense of security. The muscles he had trained for a long time made him look strong and tall. George carefully looked around for a while, then returned to the boat and dragged a black object to the shore. He poured some water to keep the mermaid's body moist. George drove the car a few meters away and gently placed the mermaid on the car. After a while, the car started, leaving a trail of water on the ground. George walked for a long time, and a thin boy slowly walked out from behind a tree in the distance. It was Li Hao. Li Hao looked at the mermaid and George from afar, and his eyes fell on the freshwater lake. Next to the simple wooden dock, there were several broken black tires tied with thick hemp ropes. Several small boats used for local fishing were tied to the boat posts, and there was also a broken wooden boat stranded on the shore, covered with moss and mushrooms, which looked very old. The lake was calm, but when he approached the lake, Li Hao discovered that an unusual chill was rising from the lake. After standing by the lake for a while, Li Hao frowned and left. The lake water was cold and had a strange feeling. The 3rd optional task probably fell here. Li Hao was not good at swimming, so he could only use some diving tools to explore carefully. After sorting out his thoughts, Li Hao walked in the direction George had left. Less than an hour after walking on the path, an American country-style town appeared in front of him. The treetops were tall and lush, the streets were clean and tidy, and you could even see some wild animals wandering around the garbage dump. 2-story villas, private garages, and snow-white wooden fences separating green lawns. The styles were similar, giving people a sense of home warmth. After a quick inspection of the environment, Li Hao began to worry about how to approach George's family. As he was sitting in the recliner, he was thinking, when a group of disheveled hippies passed by quickly on the asphalt road. Yo! Great harvest today. Hey! I'm going to have a good time this time. The roaring sound of the motorcycle made the voices of these young people seem a little unscrupulous. The tattoos and black leather jackets, coupled with the arrogant eyes, made many townspeople dare not look at them for too long. A little girl who was playing on the roadside might have been frightened by the other party's aggressive driving skills and forgot to dodge. Be careful! A young man quickly picked up the little girl and was almost hit by a motorcycle that was screaming past. Squeak! The tires rubbed against the ground, making a harsh sound. Damn it! Do you want to die? The leading hippie shook his lips stout, widened his eyes and cursed. How did you ride the bike? Didn't you see she was scared? There were acne and a few freckles on the bridge of his nose. But on that somewhat immature young face, there was a dignified righteousness that could not be ignored. Li Hao stood not far away and watched, his eyes gradually narrowed. This young man is George's son Mark. He likes sports and sports stars, and has a strong desire to uphold justice. Hey, it seems that this kid is not convinced. The leading pair of leopards had a playful look in their eyes, and they got out of the car and blocked Mark. The other party was tall and strong, with fierce eyes. Mark was just a freshman in high school. Even though he had justice in his heart, he was a little scared. The hippies nearby shouted and made a fuss, asking the leader to give the young man a social etiquette lesson. Little Mark was also stubborn and refused to give in. Don't think it's great to bully the weak. If you have the guts, go bully those who are stronger than you. Little Mark's words hit the heart of these hippies. They just relied on their numbers and guns to bully the weak. You little brat. I think you are looking for death. The hippie leader was immediately furious when he heard this, and swung his iron fist as big as a sand bowl to hit Little Mark fiercely. Little Mark rushed forward without giving in, and was determined to give the other party a hard blow even if he was hit hard. Stop! You bunch of... Li Hao, who was full of righteousness, appeared on the scene, glared at the hippies, and also swung his fist at the leader. The result is predictable, a group of big men against two teenagers. After a while, two young men with bruised faces and noses were lying on the ground. The hippies rode their motorcycles and left screaming. Boy, don't let me see you again. The leader was also injured. His right eye was hit hard by Li Hao's sneak attack and became a black eye. He didn't forget to threaten before leaving. Seeing the hippies leave, Little Mark wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, rubbed his chest that was beaten, and grinned at Li Hao. Hey. My name is Mark. My name is Dole. The two shook hands with their teeth bared, and smiled at each other. In order to get close to Little Mark, Li Hao held back and was severely beaten by those hippies. Fortunately, the effect was good. Compared with being rescued, the young and energetic Little Mark obviously liked brothers in distress. Li Hao deliberately approached, and the two quickly became familiar with each other. Half an hour later, Li Hao was already sitting in Mark's room. Mark's mother, Vivian, was scolding her son with a distressed look on her face. If you dare to go out and fight again, I will ban you from the year-end dance. Vivian's earnest words were far less powerful than this sentence. Mom, you can't do this. I have been preparing for the dance for several months. Mark, who had never changed his face in the face of the thugs, was so upset when he heard that he would be banned from the school dance that he looked like an eggplant hit by frost. How, my good son is going to uphold justice again. A tough middle-aged man stood at the door, his three-dimensional eyes smiling at Little Mark. Hey, Dad, didn't you see that I am Dole? Little Mark described the two's achievements with great excitement, completely ignoring Vivian's increasingly ugly face next to him. Okay, Little Mark is a man now, don't always treat him like a child. George smiled and comforted Vivian, then his eyes fell on Dole. Young warrior, why don't you introduce yourself? George's smile was very contagious, making the atmosphere very harmonious. When Li Hao introduced himself, Vivian answered a phone call and looked a little uneasy. She pulled George aside to discuss something. Little Mark, on the other hand, continued to introduce his star poster to Li Hao without any hesitation. Li Hao dealt with Little Mark, thinking about the following plot. Vivian was a kind woman, but she was full of hostility and wariness towards mermaids. Later, because the family loan could not be repaid, she instigated George to hand over the mermaid to the government in exchange for some bonuses. The precious mermaid in George's eyes was no different from a monster in Vivian's eyes. It was Vivian's suggestion that made the mermaid want to kill the family. After a slight pause and a word with Mark, Li Hao walked towards the living room. In the corridor, Li Hao faintly heard the couple arguing about the loan. Honey, the loan is due in a few days. What should we do? Vivian's distressed voice came over. Baby, we will get through this, I promise. George's voice was a little low, and as a man, he felt a lot of pressure. Hearing this, Li Hao's eyes fell on the entrance of the basement, and he saw a silent black shadow. Is this the mermaid? He could only see the general outline, and there was a faint smell of fish. The discussion between the two fell into silence. Li Hao knew that he couldn't wait any longer, so he deliberately made footsteps and walked towards the hole. As he walked, He exchanged 10 energy points for 20,000 US dollars. The 4 days he could stay in this world were reduced to 3 days. Sorry, I didn't mean to eavesdrop. Li Hao walked into the hall apologetically. His eyes swept across the sad faces of George and his wife. Maybe I can help you. Oh no, my child, this matter. Vivian forced a smile. She didn't think a teenager could solve the problem of $7,000. But Li Hao's next move immediately broke her common sense. Oh, my God. Vivian covered her mouth in surprise. What did she see? A thick stack of US dollars was taken out of Li Hao's pocket like a roll of paper. She couldn't believe her eyes, and could only express her feelings with a slightly shrill exclamation. George was stunned for a moment, and then his face darkened. Kid, we appreciate your kindness, but how did you get the money? George looked at Li Hao seriously. If he couldn't give George a reasonable explanation, he would call the police. Li Hao smiled and casually put 10,000 US dollars on the dining table. This is what happened. A distant relative with no offspring, a large inheritance. Li Hao calmly explained the origin of the money, and then changed the subject and said to George, of course, there is a reason why I lent you this money. George and his wife looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. If Li Hao didn't ask for anything, they would not dare to ask for the money. When Li Hao made his request, the couple flashed doubts. You want to survey the Ice Mirror Lake? George's eyes shrank when he heard about the Ice Mirror Lake. Yes, the notes passed down by my ancestors said that there is. At this point, Li Hao paused slightly, and his eyes secretly swept across the basement door. There are mermaids. Ding! The side quest to protect George's family is completed, and you will be rewarded with a treasure hunt opportunity. Treasure hunt opportunity. There are some precious items hidden in Little Mark's room. Maybe you will like them. After paying 10,000 US dollars, the side quest is completed. Without the pressure of that, Vivian will not sell out the mermaid, and the subsequent killing will not happen. Little Mark's messy room appears in front of you, with smelly socks thrown around and sneakers covered with mud. The countdown begins, 59.58. Li Hao rushed to the desk first and picked up a carbon pen. Brand new carbon pen, copying speed increased by 30, with a very small chance of modifying errors. Worn desk, increase meditation state, slowly restore mental strength. After taking a quick look at the things on the desk, Li Hao immediately set his sights on the bottom of Little Mark's bed. After a while of searching, Li Hao was delighted. Got it. Ralph can greatly relieve stress, and a random buff will appear. Books for men have a fatal attraction to certain characters, and will greatly increase the other party's favorability after giving it away. After checking under the bed, Li Hao looked at the bookshelf again. Exquisite Sports Special Edition. Books can not only increase knowledge, but also increase muscles. Only use once. Increase 0.3 strength attribute. Complete basic tutorial. It contains a lot of basic knowledge, which can benefit you a lot. Use only once. Increase the spiritual attribute by 0.2. The things are all good. Li Hao wants to take them, but unfortunately there are only 2 places. After taking a general look at the other things, Li Hao made a decision after a little hesitation. Little Mark's baseball bat. It is not only a sports equipment, but also a weapon. Use only 3 times. Instantly detonate the potential and double the strength. Exquisite Sports Special Edition. After using it, increases the strength attribute by 0.3. Strength, 1.7 agility, 1.1 constitution, 1.5 spirit, 0.9 clenching his fist. Li Hao felt stronger. Hey, man, it's time to eat. Little Mark's voice did not hide his good impression of Li Hao, not only because the other party lent money to his family for turnover, but also because Li Hao's personality was very much to his liking. During the meal, Li Hao asked about the Ice Mirror Lake and diving equipment. George promised that Li Hao would see the results by noon the next day. Before noon the next day, Li Hao saw half a car of diving equipment. Brand new oxygen cylinders, respirators and diving suits. These things are expensive, right? Doll, you are really rich. Little Mark did not hide his envy and touched the diving equipment. When I'm done, I'll give it all to you. Really? Great. After knowing that Li Hao was rich, George was no longer so opposed to Li Hao's generosity. Seeing that his son liked it, he just smiled and said nothing. The oars crossed the lake, causing ripples. While telling Li Hao about diving knowledge, George paddled towards the place where the mermaid was found. After Li Hao showed his goodwill, George did not tell him about the existence of the mermaid, but he already trusted Li Hao. It's probably here. George secretly checked the location and stopped after confirming that it was the location where the mermaid was found. Under George's personal instruction, Li Hao was able to dive alone. Plop! Li Hao flipped over and dived into the lake. He gave George a thumbs up and slowly sank to the word George. Even with a warm diving suit, Li Hao still felt a bone-chilling cold. As the light continued to fade, the whole world became completely dark. The underwater searchlight was like a beam of light, only able to illuminate a small area. A few minutes later, Li Hao dived to the bottom of the lake. The thick mud made it impossible to stand, so he could only swim through. Li Hao spent the entire morning and noon searching, but found nothing. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Li Hao had to give up the search. Being underwater for a long time made him feel very uncomfortable, and the cold lake water almost froze him. After replenishing some food in the afternoon, Li Hao changed his strategy, left George's house on the pretext of something, and then quietly waited for the mermaid to come out in the ice mirror lake. At midnight, the whole town fell into a deep sleep. The night covered the ice mirror lake like a black cloth. A dark shadow crawled to the lakeside, first vigilantly checked the surroundings, and after confirming that there was no one, it jumped, splashing a little water, and quickly disappeared into the night. Li Hao stood not far away and watched until the ripples splashed by the mermaid disappeared on the lake's surface. Then, he followed the mermaid and dived down from a distance. Maybe it was because she was pregnant, but the vigilant mermaid didn't notice Li Hao behind her. Mermaid ovulation cannot be stopped. How to stop the eggs from hatching if they haven't come out yet? Continuing to go deeper, the other party soon came to a place of mud that looked normal. The whole bottom of the lake was full of this kind of mud. No wonder Li Hao couldn't find the place. The mermaid fumbled for a few times, and a shiny pure steel chain came into her hand. After a strange click sound, the mermaid swung her tail in the mud and disappeared from Li Hao's sight. Seeing this, Li Hao quickly returned to the shore and waited patiently in the bushes. When it was almost dawn, a tired figure slowly emerged from the ice mirror lake, looked at the lake and hesitated for a long time before crawling back to the direction of the town. It was obvious that the mermaid liked George very much, but it was a pity that the two were destined not to be together. Diving and groping to find the muddy ground where the mermaid entered, Li Hao was dumbfounded. How could this happen? Under the soft mud was a very huge thick stone slab that could not be lifted by human power. Is there some mechanism? A large amount of silt muddied the lake water. After Li Hao cleared most of the silt, the true appearance of the stone slab was immediately revealed. The natural fish patterns were stacked layer by layer, and it looked like a living thing twisting. Li Hao thought about it and decided to break it violently. He pulled out Little Mark's baseball bat and detonated his potential. The original strength attribute of 1.7 suddenly doubled to a shocking 3.4 attribute value. His muscles were as solid as bricks, and waves of power flowed through Li Hao's body, making him whistle and smash the huge stone slab with force. Bam! Even with the water pressure around him, Li Hao's extraordinary attack still caused heavy damage to the stone slab. As the fish pattern twisted, a ferocious mermaid face emerged, and it fiercely sprayed a water arrow at Li Hao. The water arrow came suddenly, and Li Hao was too close to dodge it. He could only barely avoid the vital part, and the water arrow shot through his shoulder blade. Seeing the mermaid face on the fish pattern moving its gills again, Li Hao quickly dodged far away and avoided the attack of the second water arrow. After staring at Li Hao fiercely for a while, and confirming that the other party would not attack the stone slab for the time being, the mermaid face in the fish pattern slowly disappeared. Li Hao was injured and had to give up the search temporarily. When he returned home, he saw Mark and George playing baseball. Hey, man! Catch it! A baseball flew directly to Li Hao's face. Li Hao, who had many attributes beyond ordinary people, caught it easily, but the wound on his shoulder blade was torn open. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? George saw Li Hao's shoulder blade almost soaked in blood at a glance, and immediately pulled him to the basement. What's going on? I need an explanation. George treated Li Hao's wound and then his face darkened. Although the other party helped him through the difficult times, as an adult man with a family, George could not allow the other party to disrupt his peaceful life. Li Hao pondered for a moment and then told part of the truth. Actually, it's like this. What? You actually found clues about the mermaid? George stood up in astonishment, his expression changing. Mr. George, I need your help. Li Hao looked at him calmly, as if he didn't care about the fact that his shoulder blade was almost broken. Sighing, George sat down again. What help do you need? I will do my best. The mermaid's nest was discovered, and George was helpless. But if he stopped Li Hao, he might make a bigger noise. For George, who wanted to protect the mermaids, it was better to help him than to let Li Hao make a bigger noise, which could also reduce the damage to the mermaid's nest. Before his injury was healed, Li Hao came to Binjing Lake again with George and another hired diver. After discussing countermeasures, the three of them dived to the location marked by Li Hao. The lake water was still a little turbid, and the three of them quickly found the entrance to the so-called ruins under the guidance of Li Hao. When the diver saw the fish-pattern stone slab, he immediately danced with excitement. Li Hao could see that the other party's excited eyes were full of greed. If he hadn't brought any weapons, he might have betrayed him. The other party didn't care about the hireling's opinion at all, and directly pounced on the stone slab greedily. George immediately waved his arms angrily, trying to stop the other party, but was stopped by Li Hao. Swoosh! Two aqua-blue water arrows shot out and instantly pierced the greedy man's body. George's eyes shrank, and he immediately looked at Li Hao. Seeing that the other party had already dodged far away, a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes. It turns out that he knew it a long time ago. That's right. Li Hao knew that the stone slab was extremely aggressive, so he asked George and another unrelated person to help. He wanted to know if this water arrow was unlimited. Could it appear at will? Sure enough, when George swam over to rescue the dying diver, the mermaid face on the stone slab just watched but did not attack. This kind of power beyond human comprehension cannot be unlimited, otherwise Li Hao would not have to complete the test and could have just gone to bed. Of course, Li Hao would not miss this opportunity. He immediately pulled out Little Mark's baseball bat, unleashed his potential, and smashed it hard against the fish-patterned stone slab. Bam! This time, the fish-patterned stone slab cracked open one after another, and the mermaid face on it also roared and moved its gills ferociously. Even though the fish pattern on its face cracked faster, it still did not stop its next attack. 3 darker and larger water arrows were shot out in succession. Li Hao's expression was slightly condensed, and before his potential disappeared, he grabbed George, who wanted to escape, and the diver, who had already died. The water arrows only slowed down slightly after shooting through the bodies of George and the diver, but this little time gave Li Hao a chance to dodge. Li Hao dodged 3 water arrows by leaning sideways. He ignored the 2 dead bodies and once again unleashed his full potential, smashing the fish-patterned stone slab hard. Boom! This time the mermaid stone slab was directly blasted open, revealing a narrow hole underneath. Half! Half! In less than a minute, Li Hao was the only one left among the 3 people who had dived down. The body of the diver floated far away. George stared at Li Hao with his eyes closed, as if asking why. Of course it was for the mission. Li Hao did not receive any prompts that the mission had failed, and he was finally relieved. The mission was to protect George's family, not to protect George himself. This misleading language was exactly why Li Hao tried to kill George. The dungeon system will be the foundation of Li Hao's fortune in the future. He must understand this, otherwise he may be the one who dies next time. Since the mission does not put forward any special requirements, it means that as long as the mission is completed, the rest of the people, even the main character of the dungeon, can be killed. Pushing aside the bodies of the 2 people, Li Hao passed through the layers of light blue light curtains and entered a spacious and bright cave. The first thing that caught my eye was a pile of dark blue fish eggs. The eggs were covered in a layer of droopy green moss-like stuff, and as the eggs moved, they seemed to be breathing. Through the translucent egg wall, I could even see the embryonic mermaid inside. So ugly! It looked just like the mermaid mother, with sharp little fins growing before it was born, and its facial features looked more like a distorted abstract painting, and it looked like a ferocious creature no matter how I looked at it. Li Hao didn't hesitate and swung the bat to hit it hard. Ding! Complete the main task and prevent the mermaid eggs from hatching. Ding! Reward, a mermaid ring, increase all attribute values by 0.3, and a low-level mermaid summoning stone. Looking at the ring and the summoning stone, Li Hao was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. Not bad, a great harvest. Mermaid ring, increases speed in water by 30, can trigger 1 low-level water arrow every day. Low-level mermaid summoning stone, can summon a mutant mermaid from the minion manual, can be used 3 times. They are all good things. Li Hao quickly put on the mermaid ring and equipped the low-level mermaid summoning stone to the minion manual, so that he can summon mermaids to help him fight at any time. The main mission was completed, and Li Hao could actually leave. But looking at the optional mission of exploring the mermaid mutation, Li Hao hesitated slightly and decided to look for it. The entire cave was not very big, and Li Hao quickly searched through it. Frowning and thinking about it, Li Hao decided to use another method to search. Back on the shore, Li Hao sorted out his equipment and walked towards George's house. Dory, you're back. Where's George? Vivian stood at the door, expecting her husband to come home soon. Seeing Li Hao coming back alone, she couldn't help but tremble in her heart. George is in trouble. Take Little Mark and rescue him. Li Hao was covered in mud and looked extremely embarrassed. Vivian shook her body and almost fainted. Oh, my God, what happened to George? Is he injured? Upon hearing the sound, Little Mark also nervously came to Li Hao's side. Seeing the other party's miserable appearance, his eyes suddenly turned red. Oh, my brother, what happened to my father? We were attacked by monsters. I am a better swimmer and barely ran back. You quickly find someone to go to Binjing Lake to rescue George and the others. After saying this in one breath, Li Hao pretended to be exhausted and fell into Little Mark's arms. After placing Li Hao in the living room, The mother and son immediately rushed to Binjing Lake with guns. Li Hao had his own plans to trick the mother and son away. Who knew that before leaving the copy, George's family would be hurt and die, and would the mission be repeated? Therefore, the most reliable way is to trick George's family away, so that Li Hao can implement his plan. Besides, Li Hao did not lie, they were indeed attacked. With his palm clenched into a fist and the back of his hand aimed forward, a layer of deep blue light dust floated and surged on the rim. Keeping the state of being able to launch water arrows at any time, Li Hao slowly walked towards the basement. In his other hand, he tightly grasped a minion manual, which was also surging with aqua blue light. Water arrows and summoning mermaids can be activated at any time, which is Li Hao's greatest reliance. Ouch! The door of the basement suddenly broke, and a black shadow with a fishy smell rushed out. Li Hao's eyes shrank and he immediately dodged to the side. A click sound of sharp teeth biting flashed by his ears, scaring Li Hao into a sweat.